Yo, what is up, guys? It's Pedro here, and the New York Giants released cornerback James Bradberry today, and that brings up the question, should the Washington Commanders go ahead and sign James Bradberry? We'll talk about that and much more, including how he will fit in this defense with William Jackson III and Kendall Fuller already there. Also, we'll talk about how much it would take to sign him and if he would come here. So if you guys are new, make sure to subscribe for Washington and NFL content on the road to 8,000 subscribers. So please help me get there. Also hit that like button and turn on those notifications so you never miss a video. And go ahead and follow my Twitter. First link in the description. Now let's get right into the video. Also, guys, go ahead and comment down below if you want the Washington Commanders to sign James Bradberry and how much would you be willing to pay for him. So, earlier today, and I'll read this from Ian Rappaport, he said, the Giants have informed cornerback James Bradberry of his release, source confirmed, and, the Giants create about $10.1 million in cap savings while leaving around $12 million in dead money. So they got rid of a really solid player. They're definitely in rebuild mode for sure. And when this happened, I'm sure a lot of Washington fans were like, well, he's going to be a Washington Commander because, of course, Ron Rivera loves his, former Carolina Panthers, former Buffalo Bills, and, he obviously played for Carolina under Ron Rivera, and they did show a little bit of interest in him back when he was a free agent, I believe in 2020. And, it's not a huge position need, but you definitely could use an upgrade there. So, there's definitely a possibility that Washington goes after James Bradberry. Real quick, before we get into his fit here and everything, let's look at what type of player he was for the New York Giants last year. So he was okay last year. He wasn't great. Not as good as he was in 2020, but let's read out the stats. Played in all 17 games, which is what you want. Allowed a 61.7% completion percentage. So that right there is pretty solid, but allowed around 850 yards and 8 touchdowns. So the passer rating allowed is around a 93, which is, it's not great. It's not terrible. Definitely not as good as the, years before that, though. But the biggest thing is his tackling was not good at all, with a 21% missed tackling rate, and anything under 10 or around 10% is pretty good. So this year right here is solid, this year right here very good, but 21% is awful, and I guess that's a little bit of an outlier, but still, that can't happen. And let's see what else. Let's look at the other stats. And had 4 interceptions, which is huge. Having 4 turnovers, those are game-changing plays. We remember in in that game, I think it was in at Washington against the Giants. Heineke was trying to get a touchdown drive at the end, and he threw an interception to James Bradberry. That was a huge play by James Bradberry, and it was a good play as well. Now, could have won them the game if not, for Lawrence jumping offside. So that was a great play by him. He was good. He was solid this year. Not great, though. In 2020, though, he was really good. He was a Pro Bowl corner for the New York Giants. Played in 15 games, started all of those games, had around a 61.5% completion percentage allowed, so a little bit better than this year, but the yards allowed much better, around a little, less than 300 yards better than this year. His yards per completion were down, yards per target were down, touchdowns were cut in half, and the passer rating when throwing at him was a lot lower at 81.2, and had 3 interceptions in that year as well. So he was definitely better that year, and his pretty much everything was better in 2020. And I don't know why he regressed in this year. I mean, there was a lot of the Giants just weren't a great football team, and I mean that was probably part of it. And I wasn't watching every Giants game, so I can't tell you why he regressed. He's 28 years old, so it's not like he's getting really old. He still has a lot left in the tank. And you look at the other years under Ron Rivera in Carolina, 44% completion percentage allowed, which is absolutely insane, and a 60% completion percentage allowed. And yeah, I mean, he has been a solid cornerback for the last 4 years. Some years he's been great, like in 2020 he made the Pro Bowl, was a very good cornerback, and in 2021 he was solid, not great but not bad. So that brings up the question, should the Washington Commanders go after him. And, like John Keim said here, they did show some interest in him when he was a free agent, and I'll get to it in a little bit. But James Bradberry also liked the Washington Commanders, and I'll play a video in a second about that. But the question is, would he fit here? Because Washington's one of their biggest needs, and I made a video about this yesterday, going over their biggest needs. One of their biggest needs is slot cornerback. And, they don't have one really on the roster right now. You could say Danny Johnson, but I just don't think he's a starter. Like, he's a backup at best. And you have Kendall Fuller, who's played slot before, but like in the beginning of his career, he was much better in the slot. The last couple years, though, much better on the outside. Like this past season, he was awful in the slot the first 5, 6, 7 games. When he switched to the outside, much better. Like, he was a very good corner the last 8-ish, 9, 10 games of the season when he's playing on the outside versus the inside. And then William Jackson 100% is an outside corner, and Benjamin St-Juste is also an outside corner. So you don't have a slot corner. And if you sign James Bradberry, he's going to be an outside corner, and you have usually 2 outside corners on the field at once, at most. So you can't. It's just tough to bring in James Bradberry unless you get rid of Kendall Fuller and William Jackson III, and I don't know if that makes sense. And maybe they can trade one of those two, get some assets, and then bring in James Bradberry, and that would make sense. And maybe they can find a way. Jack Del Rio can be creative and find a way to have those 3 guys on the field at the same time. But it's going to be tough because they use the Buffalo nickel package a lot, and that's already kind of another DB/linebacker on the field. So it's going to be tough if they sign James Bradberry and keep Kendall Fuller and William Jackson III. I don't know if they'll be able to, get those guys all on the field at the same time, playing a significant amount of snaps. But, if they can, it's just a tough situation. Kendall Fuller, I believe, he's going to be a free agent after this, next season. So maybe they, maybe not this season, but the season after that, I believe, because we signed him in 2020. So he played 2020, 2021. So this will be his 3rd season for us. And then he'll play one more. So, they could probably get out of it after this next season, but I don't know. It just doesn't make too much sense. He is a very good football player, but you already have guys in William Jackson III and Kendall Fuller that you're committed to financially. Like William Jackson, it's about $13 million a year, and he's only been on the deal for 1 year. And Kendall Fuller, it's a little bit less, $10 million, so you could move on from him. But he's been pretty good for us. He's been pretty good in the locker room. Been here, was here before, and now came back. So I don't know if it makes sense to add another guy there unless you're able to get rid of one of those other guys and get assets for them. Because if you can get an asset for one of these corners and get James Bradberry in, then it makes sense. But, who knows? I think, slot corner is more of a need. So if you can get someone like Chris Harris or some of these other slot cornerbacks, I think it would make a lot more sense. And real quick, I want to show you guys the video of James Bradberry. JP Finley asked him if he would like to play for Ron Rivera. So I'll play you guys the clip right now.
Would you like to play for Ron again?
I would love to play for Coach Rivera again. He's, like I said, man, he's a great man, great coach. And I feel like that's half the battle as a head coach, is being able to get respect from your guys, being able to speak to your guys and have them still listen to what you got to say, respect what you have to say. And he had our.
So as you guys heard, and you can see on the screen right now, James Bradberry has a lot of respect for, Ron Rivera. A lot of his former players do, and he said he would love to play for, Coach Rivera. And I assume, it's still the same, just going to depend on the money factor, where I think it really depends on, how long of a contract it is. Probably I'm kind of thinking 6 to 11 million. I know that's kind of a big range, but if he would have, if they would have released him before free agency started, he probably would be looking at that like 8 to 14, 15, maybe 9 to $15 million a year. But at this point, where, the first wave and kind of the second wave have already gone. We're in the second and third wave right now of free agency. His value is going to go down. So we might want to sign a 1-year deal, and maybe you can get him in that range. And the thing is, with a 1-year deal, it's harder to manipulate the cap with a 1-year deal versus a 2-year deal where you can, convert more money to signing bonuses, add void years. I guess you can do that. You can, add void years to a 1-year deal, but still, there's more you can do with a 2-year deal. But we'll see. We will see. He probably will want to sign, unless you can get big money, he'll probably want to sign like a 1-year deal and, get back on the market after this next season. And I'm fine either way. If they sign him, if they don't, he's a good cornerback, familiar with the system, wouldn't be that much of an adjustment. And here's the thing, if they think Kendall Fuller can go back in the slot and play way better than he did last year in the slot, then that's the perfect scenario, because then you have Kendall Fuller in the slot, William Jackson on the outside, and James Bradberry on the outside. So if they think Kendall Fuller can go back to playing a pretty high level at the slot position, even an average to above average level, then by all means go ahead and get James Bradberry, pay him what you can, because then you have 3 really, really solid cornerbacks, and you can never have enough good cornerbacks in the league. So in that case, I'm fine with it. And, even if they don't want to move Kendall Fuller to the slot, if they can find a creative way to have all 3 of these guys play on the field at once, I'm all for it. Or if they want to move on from one of these guys as well. Again, I'm not I'm not a guy who's really, really pushing for them to sign James Bradberry, but I'm also not really against it. So whatever happens, I'm fine with it. He's probably going to end up in Buffalo, where they actually have a pretty big cornerback need, because they got Tre'Davious White, but who knows if he's going to be back. And I guess they did draft Kaiir Elam, but they still probably need a cornerback. It's not a huge need, but still a need for them. So that could be a signing, because of course the Buffalo Bills have a connection to the Panthers, and James Bradberry played for the Panthers. They like to sign a lot of Panthers as well. So that's another place where I could see him going to, and maybe that's for a cheap deal, because he also probably does want to win as well. So let me know if you guys want James Bradberry. Again, I'm kind of in the middle on this one. So thank you guys for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please hit that like button, subscribe if you guys are new, and turn on those notifications so you never miss a video. Peace, guys.